In this video, we'll talk about setter method. So this method is used to modify the data that is coming from a parent component. So till now we have seen we can pass the data to a child component, but now there is a scenario in which we want to modify the data that is coming from the parent component, and there we use the setter method. Setter and the getter always use together, and setter method name and the getter method name should be same whenever you use the getter setter. Setter method always receive the data, so it always expect a parameter here. Setter we usually use to mutate the data, whatever the data comes. If you want to add a property, remove a property, or update a property, always do within the setter. And whenever you want to expose your method, you use @API, we already know. And we know like we are using setter in the child component. That means we definitely expecting some data to come from a parent component. So we use @API along with the getter setter. It's up to you whether you want to use @API with the getter or the setter. Both works fine because the method name is same. And the very important point here is if object is passed as a data to the setter. Suppose this data is an object. To mutate the object, we have to create a shallow copy, otherwise it will throw an error. So let's go and see whatever we talked just now in a example. So I am in my VS Code. Let's create a component setter demo parent and another component setter, another lightning web component setter demo child. So we are creating two components, one is parent, one is child, and let's embed the child component in the parent component. And first let's create the lightning card. We give the title setter method demo. So this is our parent component. Here we're gonna add our child component, and to add the child component we already know it start with C hyphen your component name, setter demo child. So we embed our child component to the parent component, and to confirm its loading, let's add some template to a child component. That let's say array a child component, and let's deploy this. Before deploying, we have to do some changes in the configuration file, and we're going to place this component in the app page. File change is exposed to true and the targets to a lightning app page. So let's run the command and deploy this component. Now the component is deployed. Let's go to our org, and I'm already in my org. So let's go back, and so I'm in the component communication tab under the 0 to hero app. Let's edit this page, and let's place our component. Our component name is setter demo parent. Let's drag it to the right hand side. Hit save. Let's go back. Now you can see that the child component content is loading perfectly. Let's go back to our VS Code, and now from the parent let's pass some data, and I want to pass some details. So I'll say user details, and I want to pass the data as an object. So I'll say name Salesforce group, and I'll say it's an object, so no equal to, it should be colon, and I want to pass the age as well. I'll say 25, and to pass it we have to create a public property in the child component. So we'll go and create a public property @API detail, and at the rate API will convert this property to a public property, but to use this we have to import the API from the LWC module. Now we have a property that will receive the data from the parent. So let's go to the parent HTML and say this child will receive this attribute detail, and let's map the data that we want to pass, that is user details. The details will pass to a detail attribute. It will come to a child component as a detail, and in the child we're gonna print these details. So we'll say under the strong tag, I'll say name will be detail name, and the age will be detail.age. So the child.js is receiving the data and it will print the data in the HTML. Let's deploy and see whether we are able to achieve the data the screen or not. Now it's deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. And now you see our name is coming correctly, Salesforce Troop, and age is coming 25. So till now we already know how to pass the data, how to compose child component and parent component. So now the requirement is I want my age to be doubled and I want a location Melbourne, but I don't want my parent to send these details. I want my child component to handle this scenario. So I'll repeat the scenario again. I want my age to be multiplied by 2 and one more property should show on the screen, that is location Melbourne. So to solve this issue, we're gonna use the getter and setter. So let's convert this detail to getter and setter. So I'll first create a getter detail. We are converting the property to a method detail, and for setter we'll use set keyword and the same method name as getter. We already know the set will receive the data, so it will receive the data, and I'll go and create another property. I'll say user detail, and whatever the data comes, I'll say this dot user detail equal to data. So data, whatever data is coming, I'm updating the data into the user detail, and the detail method will return this dot user detail, and on the screen it will be detail dot name. So I have just converted the existing code to a getter setter. I haven't mutated the data yet. I just copy the data to a property, and the same property the getter will return, and we are calling the getter dot name. So it will work. So let's go and push and see whether after converting that scenario to getter setter, the code is working or not. Let's go to the page, refresh the page. So the component is loading perfectly. Now let's go and mutate the data. So now I want my scenario to multiply the age by 2. So if we see how we usually update the data, we'll say data dot age equal to data dot age multiply by 2. So let's deploy and see whether this scenario will work or not. So now I am updating the actual data that is coming by multiplying it by 2. Let's deploy. Let's go to the page and refresh the page. Now you see it throws an error immediately, because in the slide itself I showed you if an object is passed as a data to a setter, to mutate the object we have to create a copy of the data. But in our code, what we are doing is we are not creating the copy, we are updating the data directly. To create a copy, you already know we can use the spread operator. So this is how we are creating the copy. And while creating the copy, we can add the age here, and we can say let's create the variable new age. And now data dot age multiply by 2 become 50 here, and new age I'll map to a age property. And we already know when we use a spread operator, if the property is already existing on the left hand side and the new property with the same is on the right hand side property will override the value of the left hand side. So what will happen is within this data the age will become now 50 because the right hand side will override the value of the left hand side. So let's deploy and see now on the screen, are we able to see 50 or not. So it's deployed. Let's refresh the page. And now on the screen, you can see the 50 is coming. So this is how we mutate the data with the copy. And if you want to add a location, you can simply say location Melbourne. Thread operator has so many powerful features, like you can add a property, you can update a property. So this location property is not already available on the left hand side, so it will add the property now. And on the screen we can simply print that location. Go and take the key name location, go to HTML with location dot location. Let's deploy and see if it's working or not. Now the component is deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. And now you can see that the location is coming, age is 50, but parent is sending us the age 25. So this is how our getter setter works, and this is how we mutate the data with the shallow copy. We never update the data directly in the setter, and this is very useful method when you build a heavy or a big component. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video. Name value, then we called it as a name slot. When a slot without a name attribute, we call it as an unnamed slot. So we have seen till now how to pass the data from parent to child. Now we will see how we can pass HTML from parent to child. And this is one of the important concept to understand the reusable Lightning Web Component. So let's go and first try to understand what is slot, how slot looks like, how name slot works, and how unnamed slot works. So let's go to our VS Code. Let's create a component. We'll give this name slot parent demo, and we'll create another component with the name slot child demo. Now we have a parent component and the child component. Let's add some markup in our parent HTML. Quickly create a card. We'll give this title. We'll say parent component, or I'll say this dot demos. And within this, we're gonna embed our child component, that is c hyphen slot hyphen child hyphen demo. The component has been embedded in the parent component. Let's add some text to the child component. We'll say, hey, I am child, and let's go and deploy our both components. So before that, we have to change the configuration. I'll change is exposed to true and target to app page. And let's deploy and place this component into page. I am in the components communication page. Let's edit this page. Let's search for our component name slot. I'll drag this slot parent demo to the center area and I'll hit save. Let's go back. And now it's loading our child components perfectly. Let's go to our VS Code. Let's give some padding around the child component. For that we'll say div class slds padding around underscore medium, and we'll wrap our child component with the tags. Now we already seen our component is loading perfectly and our child component is loading perfectly. Let's tweak something in the child component. I'll say, what is your name? That's the template. And I want the answer should come here from the parent. So I want my parent to pass some data in between these tags, and that should render here just below it. And to solve this problem, we come across the slots. So for that, I'll say within the div, some data should come from the parent. And I'll create a slot here, slot tag, that will tell to the component something can come between the tags from the parent. The child component, we are creating the slot. Now we'll go to the parent component, and within the child tags, child component tags, that is sleep hyphen slot hyphen child demo, I'll say, I'll create a p tag and say my name is Salesforce. So now he is passing the HTML or a markup to a child component, and once it will come to the child component, while the child component is rendering, it will see is there any slot tag there. Yes, it will replace the slot tag with the p tag that is coming from the parent. So let's deploy and see if it's printing or not. So these slots, we called it as unnamed slot. These are unnamed slots because here we are not mentioning what's the name of this slot. So name attribute is not there, so it means it's a unnamed slot. So it's deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. Now this was my question, what is your name? And it's saying my name is Salesforce Group. And if I inspect this and I'll go to the element tag, now you see in the div we were asking what is your name. After we have another div, we have slot, and now p tag is rendering between the slots. So this is how it works. Let's go. Now the requirement is there should be another question, and the another question is what is your age? So we'll create another question here first. If what is your age? And we want the parent to pass something that will come here. So let's see what will happen if I create another slot. Okay, now I'm creating two slots, and I want the first answer should come here and second answer should come here. And let's go to the parent and pass something. So I'll add another p tag, and I'll say my age is 25, and we'll add some color to differentiate the answer. So I'll, for the first p tag, I'm giving a class slds text color success. It will give me a green color, and I'll give another class to a p tag with age slds text color error, so it will give me a red color of text. So now we are passing two p tags, and we have two slots in our HTML. One is after first question and the second one is after second question. We already have seen when we pass one p tag, it will render here in between these slots. Now let's see what will happen in this scenario. I have deployed the component. Let's go and refresh the page. And now you see the question is coming, what is your name? My name is Salesforce Group. My age is 25. Then the second question is coming, what is your age? My name is Salesforce Group and my age is 25. So the problem here is whatever you are passing from the parent, it's rendering the everything under the slots again and again. So if you have three slots, it will render these details three times. But that's not what we want. We want the my age only comes under the question, what is your age? And my name is Salesforce comes only once under what is your name question. Here the concept of name slot comes. So let's go and see how name slots work. So now my parent don't know where I should render this, right? It will just pass it and automatically search for the slot and it will render it. But what if we guide him? You should go and set in a particular place. For that, in the parent will set, you go to the slot with the name, username, or we'll say first question first, wherever the slot name is first. And in the second, we'll say wherever the slot name is second, you just go there. And now we have defined this attribute in the parent. Now we'll go to the child and guide our slot and give our slot a name. Basically, we'll say this slot name is second and this slot name is first. And the slot with the name attribute is called named slot. And this is helpful when you want to place the tags at a particular location from the parent. So now we want the named p tag should only come for first div or first slot, and the age p tag should come for the second slot. So let's deploy and see if it works or not. And this is one of the very important topic for creating a reusable component at large scale. And in the future video we'll see, I'll teach you how to create a reusable component using slots. Now it's deployed. Let's refresh and see whether our p tag is placing at the correct location or not. Now you can see that based on the name, it's placing at the right position and it's placing only once, not twice. So that's how our name slot works. So in the slot, we have only two types of slot, a name slot and the name slot. If you have a requirement just to render everything once, go with the unnamed slot. But if you have to place the content at a specific location, then go with the named slot. Now we have another requirement. We want some footer in this card. Okay, so what we're gonna do is let's go and create a footer. So let's go to a child HTML and we'll say footer class LDS card underscore footer, and here the slot will be in name slot footer, and in the parent tag I'll pass something to the footer. Say dot footer pass I am footer. Let's see whether the footer tag is rendering properly or not. Let's deploy. So now it's deployed. Let's refresh the page. And now you can see that there is line is coming and it's saying I am footer. So it's working fine now. But at one point of time, my parents said for a particular scenario, I don't want to pass anything in the footer. Okay, and let's see if it still render the footer or not. Let's deploy and we go and refresh the page. And if you go, you will see the space is still coming, the line is still coming. But you might think, why not we go to the child component and replace this thing if we don't want at all. But now we have a requirement in which we want our card to be rendered twice, like our child component to be rendered twice. In the first, we want the footer to be there. In the second, we should not show the footer. Let's deploy and see how it looks. Deployed. Let's see now. we want our card to be rendered twice, like our child component to be rendered twice. In the first, we want the footer to be there. In the second, we should not show the footer. Let's deploy and see how it looks. Deployed. Let's see now. Component. The footer is now it's rendering. The footer is deployed. Let's see now. Now it's rendering. The footer is coming perfectly fine. But in the second component, you see we have unnecessarily null and the space. I don't want this. I want a scenario when there is no footer passed from the parent. This line should not be visible. So to solve this issue, we will go to the method provided by the slot. Let's go to the child component. We'll say first hide the footer by default. So this is the class that will hide the footer by default. And then we will place a function or a method to a slot. That name is onSlotChange. This method will get called up whenever something comes in the slot. Okay, so we'll say handle footer change. So for the first one, it will call this. For the second one, it will not call because nothing is coming from the parent. So for the first one, whenever it's called, we have to create that method. We'll call this method. It will say something has been inserted into the slot or something is coming for the slot. So for that, what we're going to do is we'll say const footer element equal to this dot template dot query selector, and we'll give the class LTS footer. We'll call this element footer element, and we fetch the instance of that footer element, and we'll say if footer element is available, then go to the footer element class list and remove the hide class that we have by default. So what will happen is, for the first time when the footer is available, it will call the onSlotChange method. It will come here and it will remove the SLDS hide class and the footer will be visible. For the second component, when the footer is not available, it will remain SLDS hide class will be there. There is nothing inserted, so it will not call and the footer will not be visible. So let's deploy and see if it works or not. And it's deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. And now you can see that with the first component is showing the footer, with the second component we don't have a footer, so it's not showing the line or not the text. So that's how the slot works, and that's how our onSlotChange work. And these three topics with the like name slot, unnamed slot, and onSlotChange, I'll show you how we can build a very bigger reusable component. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video. In this video, we will learn CSS behavior in parent-child component. So to understand this behavior, we have to remember the four important points. So the first point is parent CSS can't reach into a child component. Second point is a parent component CSS can style a host element. So host element is the tag that we use to embed the child component in the parent component. The third point is a child component CSS can reach up and style its own host element. So if we don't want to apply the CSS to a host element from the parent, a child component also can apply that CSS. And the fourth point is you can style to an element pass into the slot from the parent component only. So let's go and prove these 4 points. So first point is parent CSS can't reach into the child component. So let's go to our VS Code. Let's create the two components. First component is CSS parent demo. So let's create the second component, CSS child demo. And in the parent component, we're gonna create the card, and I'll say title as CSS composition, and I'll create a padding class, that is SLDS padding around medium. And now what I'm gonna do is I'll create two tags. One is h1 in the parent that says hello, I am parent component, and the same h1 tag I'll go and create in the child HTML, child component HTML. I'll say hello, I'm a child component. Apart from that, what I'm gonna do is I'll create a CSS file in the parent component. So I'll create a file CSS parent demo and make sure the file name is same as the folder name with the extension .css, and we'll apply a style to a h1 tag. We'll say font size 30 pixel, and we'll say color red. So some styling we have applied to a h1 tag. This h1 tag is available in the parent component h1, and the same h1 tag is available in the CSS child demo HTML. And now let's embed our child component to a parent component, and we call it using c-css child demo, and this tag we call technically as host element. So we are using a host element here, and now the child is available. So this h1 will also come when we deploy to here internally behind the scene. And to deploy this, we need to change in the configuration meta file, and let's add that configuration will change is exposed to true, and we'll set the target to a lightning app page. And let's deploy this both component. So now the component is deployed. Let's go to our app. In the app, I'm in the styling in LWC lightning page. I'll go to gear icon and click edit page. And in the app builder, let's search for our component CSS parent demo. Let's place into the right hand side. I'll hit save. Let's go back. And now you can see that only one h1 applied the CSS, so that is our parent h1. This tag is getting red color and the font size 30 pixel, but to the child element we are not able to apply the CSS because that's our rule number 1 that we saw in the slide. Parent CSS can't reach into the child component. So even though the tags are same and the style is applied to a tag, same tag in the parent component, it will not apply to a child component. So that's the first point here, and we proved it. Let's go to the second point. In the second point, we are talking about the host element. A parent component CSS can style a host element. So let's go and apply the style to a host element. So in the parent demo.css, I'll call our child component tag. You can copy this tag itself, that is host element. We'll say we want to apply the style. We'll say display block, background color green, and we'll say color white. So let's deploy this now. So now we are applying styling to our host element from the parent style sheet only. And now it's deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. Now you can see that this styling is applied to the host element, and to confirm that this is applied to a host element, you can go to inspect, and in the element, you can check into the H1, and in the H1 you can look above the host element, that is C hyphen CSS style, this child demo. If you click here, you can immediately see on the right hand side the style is applied to this host element, not to the H1. Okay, so that's our second point. Let's go to the slides. Now we'll talk about the third point. The third point says if you don't want to apply the style to a host element from the parent CSS, you can do the same thing to the child CSS. So let's go back. Let's comment this style and let's go to the child CSS. So let's create the child CSS file. We'll say CSS child demo.css and we'll apply the same style that we were using above. Now what we're gonna do is we can't call that tag directly because that tag is not available in our HTML. So there is a new property called colon host. So this will tell whoever be the host of this component get this styling. So just for a difference, I'll change this style background color to red and let's keep the other style as it is and deploy it. So now we will see from the CSS, that child CSS, we can apply the style to a host element using the colon host. Now it's deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. And now you can see that our host is getting the red color and the white that is applied through the child CSS. Another thing that we can do here is if we have two childs, suppose I'll copy paste this child again, and now I want one child to have the red color and the other one to have the blue color. So I can apply the class red or blue, and in the child component based on this class also I can change the host color. So to do that, what we can do is we'll say colon host and we need to type dot our class name, that is blue, and I'll paste this again and I'll change this to red to blue. Let's deploy and see whether our two child host, basically this host element, are getting the different style or not. So the first element should get the red color, the second one should get the blue color, and we are differentiating these two hosts based on the class. So if the host get the class blue, this CSS will apply. If the host doesn't find any class, it will apply this class. So let's go and refresh the page. And now you can see that both hosts are getting different styling. So let's move on to our last point, that is you can style to an element pass into the slot from the parent component only. So let's go and create this as well. So in the child, I'll create a slot that will receive the markup from the parent component. And I'll go to the parent component and I'll say just pass the slot as p hello I am slot. And you can pass or ignore to other element. Let's pass it like hello I am slot 1, hello I am slot 2. Like this will pass two slots here. And now to a p tag I want to apply CSS from the child. Okay, let's see if that CSS will apply or not, because we are passing the HTML element to the child, right? So we should able to apply the CSS from the child. So I'll say to the p tag, make the font size 20 pixel and change the color to yellow, and let's deploy this. Now the component is deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. And now you can see that the slot is printing correctly, but the color is not yet changed, because I already said the fourth point says you can style to element pass into the slot from the parent component only, but we applied the styling to the child. Let's cut this p tag from the child demo.css. Let's paste this into the parent CSS, and let's deploy it again. And it's deployed. Let's go back and refresh the page. And now you can see that we are able to apply the styling to a slot element from the parent CSS. So these are the 4 key points to remember whenever we are playing with the CSS parent child component. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video.